A question that's haunting Pakistan security experts right now. Is India, together with Afghanistan, slowly hemming Pakistan in strategically? Could these two neighbors, once enemies themselves, now be collaborating to exploit Pakistan's biggest weakness, its lack of strategic depth? Since 1947, when Pakistan was carved out of British India, the country's geography has been both its shield and its curse. Narrow borders, no buffer zones, nowhere to fall back in case of war. That lack of strategic depth has always been a nightmare for every Pakistani general. And that's the one reason why for decades Pakistan's military, the real power behind the government, supported the Taliban in Afghanistan. Their thinking was simple. A friendly Taliban regime on the western border means less threat from the west. So while the US fought the Taliban until 2021, Pakistan quietly ensured that the group never truly went away. When the Americans finally pulled out and the Taliban swept back to power, Pakistan's generals celebrated. For once, they thought the western frontier was secure. But that comfort didn't last long. Because the one thing the Afghans had never accepted is the Durand Line, the border drawn by the British in 1893, splitting Afghan tribes between the two nations. The moment Americans left, that old wound reopened. Tribal clashes, border skirmishes, cross-border encroachments, it all came roaring back. Pakistan accused Afghan tribes of settling inside its territory and demanded they be sent back. When that failed, its air force even bombed some border settlements. Soon a new hostility took root between the Taliban regime and Pakistan's own military. Former allies, now bitter rivals. And that's when India saw its opportunity. For decades, India and the Taliban had barely spoken, but suddenly the doors began to open. Last week, the Afghan foreign minister made a landmark visit to New Delhi, the first of its kind. He was welcomed warmly, almost ceremonially. And even though India hasn't officially recognized the Taliban regime, it announced it would restore the first-class status of the Indian embassy in Kabul. Symbolic? Yes. Strategic? Absolutely. Now here's where it gets interesting. Officially, the Afghan minister came to seek development aid. Over the past 20 years, India has poured more than $3 billion into Afghanistan, building roads, power projects, even the Afghan parliament building. But as every diplomat knows, nothing comes for free. There's a strong speculation that India may have asked for something in return, access to military facilities, possibly even the Bagram Airbase. That base, originally built by the Soviets and later used by the US forces, is the crown jewel of Afghan military infrastructure. Having an Indian presence there, even covertly, would change the entire balance of power in South Asia. Why? Because from Bagram, Indian aircraft could strike Pakistan from the west while Indian Air Force units from the east engaged simultaneously. For Pakistan, that's a two-front nightmare. And this isn't even as far-fetched as it sounds. India already maintains secret air facilities in Aini and Farkhor, both in Tajikistan, giving it reach over Afghanistan and western Pakistan. Add Bagram to the list and the circle tightens. Even without fighter jets, Indian surveillance drones operating from Afghan airspace could serve as force multipliers for the Taliban regime, a regime that currently has no air force of its own. And if India supplies even long-range air defense systems along the Afghan-Pakistan border, the imbalance grows worse. Already small border clashes between the Afghan and Pakistani troops have turned deadly in the recent weeks. If the Taliban ever allow India to get directly involved, Pakistan could face a strategic disaster it has feared for decades. So where does that leave us? India and Afghanistan, two unlikely partners, appear to be drawing closer, united not by friendship but by a common rival. Pakistan, meanwhile, finds itself increasingly isolated, boxed in from both east and west. As the chessboard shifts once again in South Asia, one thing is certain. This new India-Afghanistan alignment could redefine the region's geopolitics in the years to come. And here at GlobalHeadwinds.com, we will continue to watch how this story unfolds. Because behind every border clash and a diplomatic handshake, there's always a deeper game being played.